Coetzee's acceptance lecture. The main speech Coetzee delivered in Stockholm was his formal Nobel Prize acceptance lecture, orated to a live audience at the Swedish Academy on 7th December 2003. This must be the most audacious Nobel Laureate acceptance lecture ever put on record at the Academy. It seems as if John wants to prove to the world that he masters English as a true university professor does. This lecture, in fact, may be Coetzee's most revealing personal existential manifest as a writer. He takes us all the way back to the romantic times of Daniel Defoe, who wrote Robinson Crusoe 300 years earlier, and then he confuses us profoundly by pulling us onto his bus, as it were. During his concessional Nobel lecture, John reads to the Swedish Academy members no more and no less than a full short story freshly written from his hand, titled He and His Man. Coetzee's He and His Man relates to us about events taking place 3 centuries earlier, in a fictional correspondence between Daniel Defoe and his man Friday, which narrates nothing more and nothing less than Lincolnshire dacoits bred up in Lincolnshire decoy ponds. Solemn, Coetzee addresses his Nobel audience. These Lincolnshire dacoits, writes this man, are bred up in decoy ponds and kept tame by being fed by hand. Then, when the season comes, they are sent abroad to Holland and Germany. In Holland and Germany, they meet with others of their kind, and, seeing how miserably these Dutch and German ducks live, how their rivers freeze in winter and their lands are covered in snow, fail not to let them know, in a form of language which they make them understand, that in England, from where they come, the case is quite otherwise. English ducks have seashores full of nourishing food, tides that flow freely up the creeks. They have lakes, springs, open ponds, and sheltered ponds, also lands full of corn left behind by the gleaners, and no frost or snow, or very light. Beautiful, isn't it? But yes, I must admit that I find it a very taxing piece of prose. Perhaps, and in fact, it is truly brilliantly written prose. But one must read the transcript a few times over and over again while deciphering and trying hard to understand what it could actually be that the author wants us, the readers, to absorb from this very exotic, eccentric, idiosyncratic and very complex narrative ploy. Visiting my shrink again. Ah, is that why you are here? This once again is the voice of my psychiatrist, the guy in the red jacket, and again I have no idea how I got here. How did I get here? I ask. Are you seeing halos again? No, doctor. I have had no halo visions for a long time. He gazes at me intensely, writes down a few notes, and then asks why I am here. After explaining to him my obsession with Coetzee, I read the paragraph about the Lincolnshire dacoits being sent abroad to Holland and Germany to lure back their kin. Mr. Agog, that's his real name, looks puzzled at first. Then he asks me to read him the same paragraph one more time, in its entirety. When I finish my rereading, his serious face brightens up. That is a brilliant piece of prose, Maxwell. Please read some more for me. I duly oblige by simply picking up my transcript of Coetzee's lecture and read some more lines from He and His Man. By these representations, he writes, which are all made in duck language, they, the decoy ducks or dacoits, draw together vast numbers of fowl and, so to say, kidnap them. I pause, trying to absorb what it is I have just been reading. What do you stop reading for? Asks the doctor. I mean, please go on, continue reading. I scrape my throat and resume my reading of the enigmatic lines from Coetzee's hands in another paragraph from He and His Man, where he apparently explains what happens to the decoy ducks. They guide them back across the seas from Holland and Germany and settle them down in their decoy ponds on the fens of Lincolnshire, chattering and gabbling to them all the time in their own language, telling them these are the ponds they told them of, where they shall live safely and securely. Then the man in the red jacket abruptly raises himself from his chair. He coughs a few times, and then he simply says, "If John Maxwell Coetzee earned a laureate as prestigious as the Nobel Prize in Literature, surely he knows what he was doing." And after silently inspecting every little corner of his office with his roving eyes, he adds, a full minute later, "How can you claim Coetzee's writing lacks utility?" And how does this story relate to Magic Musings, the present title of my latest collection of essays? That is a legitimate question. I think the answer lies in Coetzee's duck pond, really. The ducks and fowls are made to believe that they arrive to live in a heavenly pond, but just when they think that being there in the decoy duck pond is blissful, their life is about to end in the most brutal fashion. This is a most pessimistic view of the meaning of life. It is like living in a decoy duck pond with only one inevitable outcome. Death, that is.